Hello, religious scholars. I'm your host, Graham Potts, alone, as always, and I'm joined by guest today, my dog, who is unfortunately asleep. We'll be hearing none from them. But today we're going to be talking more about religion and how it affects our lives and how we can learn to understand others better. I think religious literacy is a word that can be interpreted in many different ways. I think the most obvious that when it comes to their head is understanding one religion. You're thinking like a brother, a rabbi, hell, even a pope, the Dalai Lama, just someone who understands one religion very well, and they know it like the back of their hand. While I think that definitely fits, I think you can be religiously literate while only knowing one religion. And, I'm sure most of those people would know multiple, but they really only know a lot about one. But I think the true heart of religious literacy lies in understanding many different religions. Now, understanding all of them, it's a big task. There's a lot of religions out there, more than one could probably, get to learn. But knowing that good amount of religions, diverse religions, not just Catholicism, Islam, Hindu, like that stuff. When you get further from that, you get into Shintoism and Jainism? Yeah, Jainism. And those other out there ones. And Taoism. I think that's when you start to fully understand, not fully, but you start to understand other things. And I'd say that's religious literacy. And I think not a necessary part, but another part that probably plays hand in hand with that is also understanding how religions play in with modern culture. Religion, culture, politics, just social things in general are very intertwined with one another. You cannot remove religion from politics in the majority of countries. The U.S. is the most quoted book on the Congress floor is the Bible. So, kind of in conclusion on that definition of literacy, I think just knowing one religion it's big. That's probably religious literacy itself. But what it really starts to take hold is when you know multiple, and when you understand how religion affects us. And now what I'm interested about in this little program is the next couple of topics. I'm wondering how we'll go into religions and how location can shift a religion and kind of because there's obvious differences. Western Europe, it's almost all based off of Christianity. It all comes from, it all goes down to Abraham at some point. Well, most of them. But once you get further east, or if you go into the Americas, it's completely different. And I think it's really interesting to see how the surroundings of a place can impact a religion. Another thing I'm always interested in is leaders for a religion. I think a lot of times in the big Western religions, there's these big people, like Jesus, or Abraham, or the as far as people that are proven to exist, it's the first popes or whatever. They're massive people that have huge influence on setting up this religion. But I'm not an expert in this, and this is what I'm hoping to grow. I don't really think that a lot of those Eastern religions have the same thing. They still have their gods and who started it, but I don't think it's as there was this person, and you can't name the religion down to 10 different people. It's not the whole thing. There's more systems, and it's not praying to Jesus. It's doing good things to get karma or whatever. I'm not really fully sure how that stuff works, but that's what I think is cool. And kind of as a similar tangent thing to that, how centralized they are in form of leadership. I think it's kind of strange that we have a pope. There's constantly a new person that represents Jesus in the world, even though a lot of times they've been corrupt. And I'm curious to see how other religions, like I know there's like the Dalai Lama and I don't know. I think it's Hindu, maybe Buddhism. Not really sure. But it's. I feel like some of the other ones are gonna be more decentralized. There's not gonna be a leader of all of that. 1 second. Sorry, I had a little coughing. In the latest part of kind of this journey through religions, this first part, we had to listen to a lot of different speakers. And I think some of what they had to say was pretty insightful and pretty true. I think like these speakers, they went from academics, journalists, clergy, and at the crux of it, they all agree that religion and understanding religions is important. Kind of to what degrees? I know there's like one journalist who says they don't really even focus on that. It's just they sometimes only provide the background for people to understand their stories more. But even he would agree that understanding a religion has its uses. I mean, he couldn't write on the stuff that he did without having that knowledge on the religions and kind of the context of the build-ups to the stuff that he would write on. Some say it's important just to understand the religions, to understand other religions, to understand where people in that religion come from, and understand how different ideas can take hold. I think like probably the biggest thing in this would be like, something like, I don't know, like arranged marriages. Like in Hindu, it's very normal, but nowadays in the West, it's kind of like a big frowned upon thing, even though I think we did it a lot back in the day. Another one said it's important for people to understand like a non-monotheistic religion, which I think is really true, because I think a lot of people only know, like I was saying earlier, the Western ones, like Christianity, all of its variants, and Islam, and it all kind of stems from the same part. And I think cynically, but maybe the most true one is it's important to understand other religions, to understand other people. And he kind of meant this in the sense of, I mean, honestly, kind of like politics and stuff. Like, you're going to run into people you disagree with, and you got to know what not to do. Like, if you go to India, there's going to be Hindus that don't want you to harm cows. And you can't go in there thinking you can just, be like, guys, it's okay. I'll pay a couple extra dollars, because it's a spiritual thing. That stuff they won't just falls for their compromise. But yeah, and I think when we understand stuff from other people's perspectives, we can have a lot better conversations with them. Moving on to the next one. It's kind of just about like, what are we looking forward to doing, And I'm excited to learn about some of the new religions that you don't think of often. I mean, I kind of mentioned some of them earlier, like Taoism, Shintoism, but I mean, there's a lot of religions out there, and I think it's interesting to see what is practiced even still today that you just don't hear of. One thing in particular that's a bit off there, like Jainism. I'm kind of curious to see how like a religion goes so closely to Hinduism, yet has remained very separate, and also kind of interested to see, like, I mean, its famous symbol for Jainism is the swastika, which is now a modern day representation of, honestly, like, tyranny and oppression. But how back in the day it was a much more well-meaning symbol than it is nowadays. And I think that stuff is really interesting to understand. Well, this has been candidly, I'm excited for the next couple of days, and I'll try to learn this in time to actually get my diploma and graduate, and excited to bring you all with. Have a great day.